Yeah, it is. I think there's this weird sort of ethos, and it leads us to the last topic that we're going to cover. And so again, if you've been watching our episodes, you know what it is. What are we going to talk about to end our show as it seems to be our new tradition? What is it, Han?
The government, Elon Musk, Doge.
Specifically Elon Musk and Doge and all the craziness that's going on. And so there's two related stories here on the same topic. And I say that it's linked because I feel like there's the same ethos that Elon Musk seems to be bringing in, that it's just like, well, it's just because the people are lazy and they're stupid, and that's why all this is going. And so the two big pieces of news, and you can talk about them whichever order you want. The first is that he shut down um, a group called 18F, which is sort of the sister group to the
The
group that
digital
Doge
services.
was right,
Yeah.
digital services, that was specific to GSA, and it was also an extremely well-regarded group of mostly technologists from outside the government that would be brought in as a tiger team and develop new technologies and deploy stuff, and it was generally seen as wildly successful. I personally view this as Elon Musk just trying to shut down the competition. And then the other thing was, the big news was that he announced that there was all this, war on software licenses, and this one I had mixed feelings about, because on the one hand, he's doing what he's been doing, which is just taking a little piece of a little nugget of data and waving it up like, see, proof of all these problems. But as anyone who's worked in the enterprise, particularly in the government, knows that. So what he was pointing out is, in one of these companies, they had three times many licenses for a product than they had employees.
Mhm.
But licenses are not always employee related, as this article points out. In many cases, in particular for the government, it's cheaper for them to buy it because they get mandated at lower rates and then provide them to suppliers. Sometimes you need it for machine licenses. There's all kinds of reasons. And the hard part is, I also know in many organizations, enterprises included, software management, license management specifically, is incredibly difficult, and there's often a lot of waste. So my guess is there's probably some truth to this, but again, it's the bull in the china shop sort of, look at how horrible this is. Look at how clearly only me, the savior, can come save it. That just it takes what could be a win and turns it into a loss and makes it political, because we aren't really addressing the issue. So just again, more craziness from Elon Musk that I think is doing more harm than good. But what was your take on these two?
Yeah, and the irony is, so 18F, the agency that was just closed down, actually works specifically on software optimization. They literally provide guides to other departments saying, here's how you negotiate contracts. Here is how you optimize your licenses. Here is how you maintain your vendor relationships so that you set yourself up for success and can save money. They've saved hundreds of millions of dollars in software negotiations by doing things like you get 20,000 licenses instead of 15,000, but you get a 90% discount if you get up to 20,000. So it's going to be a lot cheaper for you at the end of the day. They were literally one of the guardrails that were helping to cut costs. I don't know how else to say this, but we got rid of the people who were trying to save, actually saving money over the past decade. So whatever Doge is doing, it's pretty obvious by now that they're not here to cut costs. They are here to, as you said, get rid of the competition. One of the interesting notes I saw on Blue Sky was Mark Cuban weighing in on this and saying literally, hey, 18F guys, I know you're really talented. If you want to start your own consulting firm to get ready for when the federal government needs to bring you back, I'm willing to help support you or even fund you if that's the case. So here's this billionaire smelling money at this opportunity.
Well, I mean, and that is, I think, maybe the saddest thing about this. And like I said, I'm the first to say I have done a large amount of work with the federal government, and I saw firsthand how much waste and convolution there
Mm-hmm.
was, and it was so difficult to get things done in many ways because of a bunch of stuff. So it's like there's a need for a degree of wrecking ballness to fix some things, and so that part I appreciate. But like 18F and the Digital Services Agency are both examples where this was the government actively and intelligently going out and trying to attract people from outside the government that would bring that expertise in to help solve these problems. And they're just single-handedly wiping that out. Some of the actual positive things that were being done. And so, that part is just it's unfortunate, and again, I think a lesson to be had here, in that, um, It is very easily if you're so let's try to bring it back to some practical reality. If you're a CIO, particularly if you're a new CIO being brought in as a turnaround or whatever, it's really easy to swing this pendulum the other direction. And the law of unintended consequences means that you're almost certainly going to throw out a whole lot of good with that bad, and that there is another way, right? That you can have a major impact, you can move quickly without breaking things, and you can involve people in the process. And I think probably that's the greatest challenge. I think again, having spent time working in the federal and in some federal agencies, I met lots of people who wanted to do nothing more than show up to the bare minimum, collect their check, and go home. And I also met a whole bunch of incredibly diligent people that were truly invested, believed in a mission of trying to make the government work better. And the people that these sort of actions are going to affect are not the first group that you want to get rid of, but it's the second. And that's what I think is very unfortunate.
Yes, and also don't bring in Accenture. Ask them to cut half of your workforce in 4 weeks, and then insist on the outcome rather than looking at the process and result.
And then everyone else shows up 6 days a week, work like 60 hours, and all will be good.
Sure, absolutely.